It's been 6 years since the pandemic began. The world has already moved on. Most people don't even think about it anymore. But look around. Not everything went back to how it was. And the strange part is, you probably can't even say what changed. It didn't happen all at once. There was no moment where everything changed. No clear line. No point you could go back to. Just small shifts. Day by day. Things you adjusted to. Things that made sense at the time. You stayed home more. You saw fewer people. You got used to distance. And nothing felt wrong. Because it was gradual. Because everyone was doing the same thing. Because it felt temporary. But that's the part most people miss. When something changes slowly, you don't experience it as a loss. You experience it as normal. And by the time you realize something is different, you've already adapted to it. The first thing that changed was how we connect, not in an obvious way. At first, it just looked like distance, temporary, necessary. You saw people less, spoke less, met less often, and it made sense. But something else happened at the same time. The spontaneous moments disappeared. No more random meetups, no more just passing by, no more effortless contact. Everything became planned, scheduled, intentional, and slowly, less frequent. Conversations moved online, reactions replaced presence, and without noticing, connection became optional. Not because people didn't care, but because it became easier not to reach out. And over time, that distance stopped feeling like distance. It just felt normal. Then something else shifted. Not outside, inside. Daily life became easier to avoid. At first, staying home was a restriction. Then it became a habit. And eventually, a preference. You got used to it. Ordering instead of going out. Watching instead of meeting. Staying in instead of stepping out. And it didn't feel like you were missing anything. Because everything was still there. Just closer. More convenient. Before you would leave the house without thinking. Now there's always a pause. Do I feel like it? And more often than not, the answer is no. Not because something is wrong, but because staying in feels easier. The world opened again. Everything came back. But something didn't. The need to be part of it. And slowly, people stopped going out, even when they could. Work changed too, not all at once, but enough to blur the line. Offices closed, homes became workplaces, and for a while, it felt like freedom. No commute, more flexibility, more control over your time. But something else came with it. The boundary disappeared. There was no clear start, no clear end, just constant access. You could check one more thing, reply to one more message, finish something quickly, and that quickly never really stopped. Work was no longer a place you go to. It became something that follows you, into your home, into your evenings, into your mind. You're never fully working, but you're never fully off. Always a little bit in, always a little bit available. And over time, that started to feel normal, even though it never used to be. And then there's the part you can't really see, the part that doesn't show up in routines, the part that changed quietly, inside. More time alone, more time in your own head. And at first, it didn't feel like a problem, because everything still worked. You woke up, you went through your day, you did what you had to do. Nothing collapsed, nothing broke, but something felt slightly off. Hard to explain. A little more distance, a little more tension, a little less stability. Not enough to alarm you, just enough to stay there. And that's what makes it difficult to notice, because it doesn't look like something is wrong. It just doesn't feel the same. And over time, that feeling becomes familiar. Not because it's better, but because you've gotten used to it. And this is why most people don't notice it, because nothing dramatic happened. There was no single moment where everything changed, no collapse, no clear turning point. Everything kept working, life continued, routines adjusted, days moved on, and from the outside, it all looks normal. That's the illusion, because when something disappears slowly, you don't register it as loss. There's no moment to react to, no signal to stop, just a quiet shift that blends into everyday life. And by the time you think about it, there's nothing to compare it to anymore, because the version you remember is already gone. The pandemic ended. The world reopened. Everything came back. Or at least, that's how it looks. The streets are full again. Places are open. Life is moving. But not everything returned with it. Some things didn't come back. Not suddenly. Not noticeably. Just quietly. Over time. And now, it's hard to even name what's missing. Because you adapted. You moved on. You built a new version of normal around what's no longer there. And that's what makes it so easy to miss. Nothing feels broken. Nothing feels lost. But something is different. And it has been for a long time. You're living in a world that looks the same, but isn't. And the most unsettling part is, it feels completely normal.